invite everyone to participate in asking questions and taking advantage. These three people have voluntarily, hopefully in their right mind, to serve this community. Now, there are people in this room who have served this community over a long period of time. You are nuts. But we have Cookie Curry, we have Mr. Lerma, and we also have Mr. Nowak. And I'd like to thank everyone that came. You're showing some interest in your community in which you live and you do your business, and we congratulate you on that. You know, it's not just a privilege to vote, it is a responsibility. Now, I would like to take the occasion. Early voting is August 9th through the 11th from 8 to 5. 14th to the 18th from 8 to 5. August 21st and 22nd, 7 to 7. Main Street is the location, and on Election Day, August 26th, it'll be 7 to 7 at the Hill Community Center. So, jot those times down and either vote early or vote on Election Day. There are things here on the table. You're welcome to take all the information that you want. Now, basically, we're going to give each of the candidates 3 minutes to tell their story of why they want to serve, and then we will start with the questions. Is there anyone here who didn't get an opportunity to turn in questions or has questions they want to turn in?
Hey, do you have to turn in? Can you spontaneously?
No.
No.
You have to turn in. In other words, I've probably got more than we'll have time to do, so, because each question's answered by each person, so you've got 3 answers to each of the questions. Okay, now we're going to start ladies first. Cookie, if you'd like to, you have up to 3 minutes to tell everyone why you want to serve the city of Sealy, your community.
Good afternoon. My name is Theadra Elise Cookie Tyler Curry. I was born and raised here in Sealy, Texas. I have gone through the Sealy ISD school system, graduated, worked for the University of Houston as a counselor for about 15 years in the College of Business Administration. I then started working here in Sealy at the box plant, which is now IP, where I was Human Resource Director, Payroll, and Safety Director. Left there and began working with the Boys and Girls Club of America, where I actually worked in 3 school districts, Sealy ISD, Belleville ISD, and Hempstead ISD, working with the youth. I left there and became program manager for the Willow River Farms, which is a community for the disabled and mentally challenged. I am a member of Bethel Baptist Church in Sealy. I believe in God first, family second, and my community. I love my community. I call it Big Time Sealy, Texas. When people ask where you're from, it's Big Time Sealy, Texas. As we are growing, there are issues and concerns that will affect each and every one of us and our families. I have been on city council before. I'm currently on the planning commission, and I've worked with the Sealy Police Advisory Committee. My stakes are within the city of Sealy. I plan to represent all of the people of Sealy. I do live on the east side, where there are many problems within the city that I plan to represent each and every one of the citizens of Sealy to help restore, build, and promote the city of Sealy. Thank you.
Mr. Lerma?
Yes, I'm Frank Lerma, and simply I do love where I live. So I started out born in Houston, Texas, and when I graduated Aldine High School, I joined the United States Marine Corps. There I did 5 years as in the 2nd Marine Air Wing as an aircraft support equipment mechanic, and served my time during the Gulf War. Once the Gulf War ended, I then joined the Houston Police Department. I served 21 years there, everything ranging from patrol, which starting out in the north side, I started up in the Acres Homes area, moved over to accident division, did fatality accident reconstruction investigations, and then moved over to Houston TransStar working at TxDOT, the Safe Clear program. finally ending up at Central doing the Central Crime Analysis. So, and then from that point, I ended up doing an honorable career and retiring. Well, I wasn't ready to quit working because I still enjoy what I do. So now I act as I'm tasked with as a community relations officer with Memorial Villages Police Department. Memorial Villages Police Department is just right inside the Beltway. It's Bunker Hill, Piney Point, Hunters Creek are the cities that I serve. There, I act as in the role of in community relations. I'm involved with all 3 city councils, attending all the meetings every month for the past 3 years. That is where I gained a lot of understanding and experience regarding the interactions with the community, what's important to the community, and how council should, represent the community. I personally feel that a council member serves at the pleasure of the people, and therefore what their needs and wants and concerns are a priority, and your actions represent your priorities. So the things that you vote on and decide to act on once you gain the information needed, that'll demonstrate your priorities. And in my mind, that's important to consider what the residents and the voters are wanting. So to move forward on that, even though I work in Houston, I am heavily invested here in Sealy. Not only with my beautiful wife, as raising my family, and my beautiful children, 2 that go to the high school here in Sealy, both in band. In fact, they're in band practice right now. But I also invest in the real estate here. I have residential properties as well as commercial property building here. And basically, my actions are demonstrating my priorities. Sealy's important to me, and that's why I've invested here, and I've expanded my real estate business here in Sealy. So for those reasons and those thoughts, I wanted to be involved and see what I can do to add to and to work with the city council and be one of the votes with the other council members to move the city forward and think about what's important for our children and what we leave for them. Bottom line, we are here we have to think about what kind of canvas we're going to leave for our children to paint on when they become the people that govern this city. And so we have to look beyond ourselves and think about them, my children and my grandchildren. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Nowak. I've lived in Sealy my whole life. I graduated from Sealy High School in 2009, where I met my beautiful wife, Tori. It did take me 9 years to ask her to be my girlfriend, but she is my wife now, and we're planning to raise a family here in Sealy. After I graduated from high school, I attended Sam Houston State University to get my bachelor's degree in software development. Of course, like many, or maybe not like many, but when I did attend Sam Houston, I did live there the majority of the time. However, I did come home most weekends, and I moved back as soon as I was done with college just because I loved this town so much. Currently, I'm working for a construction company. The corporate office is in the Galleria area, and I'm doing software development for them. So what brought me back to Sealy? Honestly, I think I think it's a simple answer, and that is the people. The people of this town and the culture of this town is what brought me back here. It's what brought my wife back here, and it's why we want to raise our family here. Several qualities that I feel like I have that I feel like our council could benefit from. Every day I am doing software development. I am solving problems. I am presented with an issue. I have to dig through it, find what is causing that issue, and then provide a fix for it. So my problem solving and analytical skills I feel like could be very good for the city. I also have very good communication skills, both orally and written. I think that's very important as a council person. I collaborate well with others, and I've had several leadership roles throughout my high school and as well as my career. So what got me involved in city council? Well, a couple months back we had a point in time where our utility bills increased. And me being a homeowner and being young and wanting to start a family, that increase really concerned me because I wasn't sure if that would impede my plans, my wife's plans, as we want to raise that family here in Sealy. So I started attending council meetings because of that utility bill increase. And I've been attending meetings every now and then ever since. And then here recently, I've really started attending. So I just feel like it's really important to me that we keep Sealy, as Sealy progresses, that we keep the people in mind, and we also keep the culture of Sealy in mind, because I do feel that that is one of the main reasons that people stay here, and I feel like that's why people come here.
Okay. Now, Debra Luckett, who's also running, is unable to attend due to her job. I do have some fact sheets here, so feel free to take one with you if you're so inclined to get the informed information. And question number one. Okay, this is from Betsy. With the current finances of the city, what is your plan? Will you suggest selling off some real estate property or assets? And we'll start with ladies first. Cookie?
As far as the financial situation of Sealy, the main thing, in my opinion, is that I would have to do some research. I don't think jumping in, selling off real estate right now at this point in my vision of my knowledge of the financial situation is the best solution. So I'd have to do research to find out what other options there are to look at to boost the economy and to correct the financial situation that we're in.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mr. Goodman?
So, in my view, everything should at least be on the table for discussion. That's why you have a council and advisors to help us to determine what we should or should not do that's best for the community. At this point, with limited understanding and not being privy to everything that's known, again, I would want to also review and find out what the situation exactly is, and then bring in the qualified people. Just like with any other aspect of the city, I'd want to have people that have that are qualified, not to give us opinions, but to give us qualified information, like CPAs or some type of firm that can give us the knowledge to understand what would be best for our financial situation as it relates to either selling or keeping properties, or maybe selling a property to a business that's going to bring employment for our children or for ourselves. So I would want to review all what is involved right now, and then as a group, collectively, as council, do what's best for the residents, our voters.
Mr. Nowak?
So I think first step one for me is I would personally have to take a look at the budget with a fresh pair of eyes. I do feel that after attending some of the budget meetings and or council meetings, that there are certain places within the budget that I think we could do better. I think that with that fresh pair of eyes on that budget, and coming up with a list from that budget, what is something that the city needs versus what is something that the city wants? What are nice to haves versus what do we need right now? In doing that, I feel like we could eliminate some of the burden of the financial state that our city's in. So I don't think that right now the best option would be to sell off any real estate without first knowing the facts. I don't know what the budget looks like, and I feel like that's really important before making a big decision like that, is educating yourself, getting education from other people, doing your own research. So the answer to my question is, before we go off selling real estate, I think that we should look at other areas, and let's start first with the budget.
Okay, I happen to pull one without a name, but it also doesn't make sense to me. There are current issues, so we'll go on to the next one. This is one, how would you encourage economic development within the city of Sealy? And we started with you first, it'll be Mr. Lerman.
Okay, so economic development. Well, my understanding is we do have a Economic Development Corporation, which even when you look on the website, that's some of their tenants is to bring in business, and that's part of their realm of what they work in and their span of control. So would want to get with them and visit with them and find out what has been done in the past, what's being done now, and what can we do from a strategic standpoint in going out to for development for the next 5, 10, or even 20 years. What is it that we can do together as a group? Because that's ultimately my understanding is their primary function, along with the council and business owners here locally inside downtown. So with that and the EDC, working with them and coming up with plans to see what we can do from a strategic standpoint and work to grow our development here in Sealy.
Sure. I'm really glad that this question was asked because in the prior forum, I had made a statement about having a single resource that is actively seeking businesses in Sealy. Since that forum, I've been educated that that's the sole purpose of the EDC. So taken directly from the EDC website, they have a statement that says, strive to grow businesses and improve the quality of life. But there's nothing on there that is stating, how are we doing that? What are we doing to go out and grab these businesses? What makes these businesses want to come to Sealy? So I think step one is we need to put a plan together on why is Sealy so desirable for all of these businesses? What will make them want to come to Sealy? So for me personally, I would need to get more involved in EDC to understand, again, like Mr. Lerma said, what it is that we're doing today and how can we improve on that. I don't think anything is ever perfected. I think there's always improvements that can be made. Along with that, I also feel like getting the community involved, right? I don't think the ideas of how we bring in commercial businesses should be just solely on the 7 individuals that are sitting on council. I really think that we're there to represent the people, and I think that we need to listen to the people. That's it.
In regards to new businesses, Sealy is in the hub and we are the new Katy per se. Everybody wants to move out to Sealy. Our location is perfect. Our schools are superb. Our city infrastructure is in a position to where we would have to look at what's going to come at us because it is coming. I don't think that we'll have to put a lot of effort into going out getting people. We just need to get the city ready for people to come here and be prepared to take on the growth. The economic development portion of our city, along with the city council, along with the citizens of Sealy, would all be a part of this growth, and it would affect all of our infrastructures and all of our residential facilities as we see them currently now. So my thing about growth is that the city would need to get prepared with the planning commission. We're working on some things, and all of this will make more people want to come here as far as businesses to be attracted to Sealy. We are the next big Sealy is the next big Katy.
Daniel Cano, do you see any conflict of interest?
You may help me out.
No, I'm not asking it because if it was a problem legally, they would not have been able to register.
What was the legal question?
Okay, when the city annexes property, they provide, this is also Mr. Cano. When the city annexes property, they provide city services, among them water. If the water pressure is too low for the new elementary school on 2187, shouldn't the city pay for a new water well, booster pump, or whatever is needed? Are you familiar with the new elementary school out on 2187?
Yeah, the Planning Commission currently is working on some of the infrastructure utilities, and that takes money along with everything else that needs to be done. As far as, that's a personal view, as far as being on council, The council will have to work with the city and the planning commission and all entities to determine what would be the most feasible method to provide additional city services in that area.
Okay, so I don't know I'm not privy to all the details regarding the school and the infrastructure regarding that, but I do know this, that in my experience attending many, like I was speaking with Ms. Cook here earlier today, that it's critical that when we do decide to do these expansions or move on with the infrastructure, that we consider not only strategically, again, for the 5, 10, or 20 year, but to elicit and get the information from the qualified people that can give us information. In other words, regarding this particular situation. We now have a process with our water treatment and supply now. Well, what maybe a question should ask is, if the population was to double, what will it take to do that, and what are approximate dollar amounts? And then as a council, once we get that qualified information, then it's our duty to act. And clearly with a new school, that will be one of the most important things, even that I've learned in my experience dealing with city councils, is that the schools and the public safety and infrastructure are what companies look for. And if we decide with our actions to demonstrate our priorities by doing that now, and whether it's with some of the CEOs that were talking last night at City Council, or with bonds, or whatever it takes, we have to set the platform for businesses to be interested in this and to come to Sealy. And that includes not only the school and the water there, but also I'm very interested in the corridor of I-10. So.
This actually came up as a discussion topic in last night's council meeting. So I do know that our current council is actively working on this issue. They are trying to do the best that they can. I do know that the most important thing, talking about water pressure, is making sure that the water pressure is there and also the volume of water is there. The most important thing is that your kids, and eventually my kids, hopefully, will be safe as they go to that school. If there were a fire, that there is enough water pressure and enough volume of water that the fire department can use to extinguish that water. So I don't think that if the water pressure is, I think that if the water pressure is too low, or if we cannot get the volume of water there, I think that, I think your question is fair, and I think we'll have to look at ways to alleviate that. I'm really big on family, and I would personally not want to send my kids to a school knowing that issue existed there. So again, I know that current council is actively working on this. I have not been presented all of the facts, and it's hard to make my own opinion on that. But I know that presented the facts and doing the right research, we will do the right thing, and we'll make sure that there's sufficient water supply there.
Susan, how would you resolve the YMCA Chapman Foundation broken contract? Mr. Lerman.
Okay, so I was there at the city council meeting after the budget meeting. I went to both budget meetings, and then in the second budget workshop, rather, that was also part of the agenda for that last meeting. It was around 8:15, 8:30 at night. And that meeting, the agenda was there to give the funds back to the foundation that was offering that. I'm not privy to all the aspects of what happened. I know that began some time ago, potentially with the previous administration and some of the folks involved there. We need to get it back. We need to figure out how to do that. If it means with communication and figuring out what was not decided on, were there personal issues involved. As a council, we're supposed to take information, qualified information, and act on it pragmatically and do it what's best for the residents. I don't know the details of why it wasn't handled or in the manner it was. I'm not here to judge because I wasn't involved in all those inner workings. But my hope is that with a positive attitude and a can-do spirit, we can make it happen and begin that process again. That's my belief. And positive attitude and can-do spirit, coming in and saying, how can we make this work? Or who do we need to talk to get this process running? And as far as that particular situation, that's my understanding relating to that.
So unfortunately, I don't feel that I have enough knowledge on this specific issue to address it. I certainly don't want to speak out of turn or provide information that's false. So I'm going to withhold any commentary on this one.
Personally, I think that the council will need to revisit that information that determined the prior decisions and revisit that and then look at it again to see if it's something there that was either missed or could be fixed or repaired or replaced, or if anything else, just leave it as it is. But the prior decisions made by other people, it's up to not only the citizens of Sealy, the city council, and all entities of the city to rectify what was wrong, if there was any wrongdoing.
Becky, if a major corporation came to the city wanting to develop, what would you do to entice such a corporation to ensure they come to Sealy? And I believe this is Mr. Nowak's.
Okay.
To start.
Sure. I believe this goes back to a similar question that we've already been asked, but I think it starts with the Economic Development Corporation and really understanding what their purpose is, what they're doing, what it is that we're doing to drive businesses here. I think it's important that we keep that in mind, as well as the other resources that we have, not only on city, but as well in the community that we can utilize to help drive that.
I remember back when the YMCA came to Sealy, there was a big city meeting and they invited the community as far as the leaders of the YMCA, and they presented to the citizens of Sealy their proposal as to what that entity would bring to Sealy. And I think that was such a positive mood. And anytime there's any big businesses coming to Sealy, it's to me is a great idea to involve the citizens, because you have two things there. You have the citizens buy-in, and people that come here from big corporations, they, like I say, they like your school, they like your city infrastructure, and for them to see citizens buying into their corporation or their company would just show your Sealy pride.
So repeat the question one more time, please, if possible.
It says, if a major corporation came to the city wanting to develop, what would you do to entice such corporation to ensure that they do come to Sealy?
So when I think about that, I think about the character and the quality of life we have here in Sealy. Something like that, if a company or a corporation is wanting to come here to Sealy, I envision the jobs it may produce, the revenue it can to expand, to come into the city coffers so that we can maintain that quality of life. So to do that, working with the EDC as well, I'll add to that is finding out what is the face of the EDC, what is it that they're willing to do, and how are they going to go about it to not only, if they're coming on their own, to actually to keep them here and want them to expand. And to make sure that it's clear that the city will work with them, knowing that if it comes to fruition and this corporation or something is developed here, it can also help to maintain the quality of life for our city and the character it is by reducing some of the burden that the property owners and the taxpayers have in the city. So in a nutshell, if they come here, we have to sit as a group, as council, and with other businesses that also potentially involved, and determine what would be best to not only get them here, but to provide an environment where they can expand so that they can create something so that my children can come back and possibly have an opportunity to work there, if you're talking about a big corporation or something like that.
this is Glenn. Do you favor the current path the city is on for the proposed town park center, and why? And it should start with,
Yes, I think the Town Park Center will be a great entity for the city. It will be something new for us. It will be an area that would show that we have a diversified community, that we are reaching towards different entities in the city so that everybody will have opportunities outside of the things that we currently have in place as far as the city parks and things of that nature. So yes.
Oh, yes. So as far as it relates, my limited understanding of all the dynamics regarding that, I'm very open to learning more about it and getting involved and understanding it. And anything that can bring this center, and if it can help to expand what the city of Sealy looks like to people outside for growth, I'm open and willing to understand and to see if we can create an environment where that could happen and grow. And the truth is, I am limited in my understanding of all the aspects of it. I know there's many dynamics involved with different groups and folks here in Sealy. I do understand that. And so ultimately, I would want to understand why everyone has their understanding, their belief in it, and figure out a way where we can make this thing work for everyone's benefit.
Sure. I as well have limited knowledge of this topic in particular, but I will say that it is that I have the attitude that education, right? Like the biggest thing is being educated or getting yourself educated on all of these items that council's making decisions on. So I don't have any comments in particular to do I agree or disagree with the plan, because personally I haven't seen the plan. I don't know what that plan is. And again, I'm uncomfortable making comments based on my own personal opinions based on something I haven't been presented the facts on.
well, this actually is from Susan, and it is pretty much about the same, the pending problem with Town Park. The developer and the city want to get this project off the ground. And I believe we're starting with Mr. Lerman.
Okay, so this basically a similar question.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's almost
so
identical.
well, for me personally, I first want to focus off it being a problem and just looking at it as a challenge for us to find a solution. There is a solution to this potentially if we just change our mindset and begin to, again, like I alluded to earlier, understand why that challenge is why it is, and then working together in harmony to try to get a solution. As a business owner, I understand with any time you want to do a development, mine isn't as large as Town Park, the things I have, but with commercial buildings and things like that, I recognize why some folks may be reluctant or have issues with it, because there's a lot of capital improvements involved. I mean, I've done much of that the past couple of years, a lot of capital improvements on my properties and buildings. So I understand that sometimes that can garner some emotional feelings or misunderstandings. So to that, I'm open to finding out why the issue has not been resolved and work with whatever's been built upon now to this point. And I believe no matter what, everything can be made better, and working together, trying to understand why it is the situation it is, and just get to the solution so that everyone can benefit here in the city, here in Sealy. Everyone can benefit from this if we really work in harmony with a positive attitude.
So again, because of my limited knowledge on the topic, I don't want to make any comments specific to this item. However, I will add that again, it's always about the people, right? So understanding what is the problem, why are people against this, why are people for it, and then build upon that to see if we can come up with an understanding.
As a candidate, working with the other members of City Council, working with the facts of the situation, and working with the pros and the cons, and in addition to the input from the citizens of Sealy, Texas, it would have to be a consensus of the council as to the decision, which I know in most cases is always for the best interest of the city of Sealy.
I'm having problems reading the name on this. What is your thoughts on zoning? Betty, I'm sorry, Betsy, what are your thoughts on zoning? And we'll start with Mr. Nowak. No, wait a minute. Now I've lost track.
I'll start. I'll start.
I don't mind.
I'll start.
Sorry, I apologize.
Zoning has been one of those issues that has been hovering over Sealy since I have been here, and I'm 64 years old. The current situation, in my opinion, about zoning is that the infrastructure in our neighborhoods and with our businesses have developed over time, and some of those entities intertwine. We have businesses in with residential. As far as zoning, I would see and think that the new developmental areas of Sealy that are new would be the areas that would be prone and subject to looking at zoning in those areas as far as future growth. But the current growth, the current infrastructure that we have now, I just don't see where zoning would work.
Okay, so.
Sorry, we gotta go.
Oh. So, as in regards to zoning, obviously that can be an emotional, personal view to many people. Right now, as it relates, I kind of look at zoning in regards to how it relates to our infrastructure. So my understanding is, just like even on the street I live on Main Street, some of the service there is, I think, just 2 inches, if I'm not mistaken. So my understanding for any business, if it wanted to open up a business, which you can open up a shop or bar, that wouldn't even be the service that isn't even the required service by code to even handle that. So from a safety perspective, recognizing, yes, our city has expanded, and over time we need to, all the infrastructure really needs to be looked at and understand it. From a safety standpoint, zoning can be an effective tool to put in place where if areas are residential and the support and where the water supply or wastewater treatment come from there can only handle residential, maybe it should be an option. Also working with council as a consensus as well, but it should be an option. And then from that standpoint, if we need to create zones, not unlike the cities where I work at now, they have residential zones, they have commercial zones, zones for churches, zones for different types of businesses, and they do that for safety reasons. Many businesses require, if I'm not mistaken, last night, the big gas line that's going to be put out for Sika. Well, you couldn't have a residential-sized gas line to do that. It would be completely unsafe, my understanding. So, given that, zoning can be an effective tool if we begin to look at it maybe as a safety concern for our residents. Living here and being invested heavily in Sealy, it's important to me. And as a citizen also here, I would at least want it to be addressed, maybe beginning with how can it be effective and how can it be regarding the safety for the residents and its capacity, and maybe consider zoning as a possible tool for the capacity that we have now.
So I think before we can discuss zoning, there has to be some way, and maybe this already exists, but some type of documentation on the infrastructure that's currently there and what is sufficient, what can that support. And I think that before we can even do that, we have to take it a step back further. And Sealy and council and all of its entities, we have to come up with what is our end goal of Sealy? What does it look like? And then we have to come up with a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan to be able to hit that end goal. And I think that with planning, then I think maybe we could start talking about zoning. But I think it's going to take that plan and understanding where certain infrastructure lies and is it safe or is it not safe before we can do that.
Okay. And if I'm not reading this right, you can correct me. What do you think are the city's lightest priorities? Mr. Lowe?
Sure. Lightest priority, what are the city's lightest
Light- it
priorities?
says
I mean, or
lightest.
lightest, maybe the lowest priority to think
Yeah,
about?
I would think that's,
You know, and I would imagine until you, that's really personal. I don't know how to respond. I think everything has a priority. Obviously, whatever has to relate to safety and safeguards for the residents, that'd be the high priorities. Not to mitigate or to marginalize anything, but I guess that would have to, that's more of a personal question, I guess. I don't know what they're asking
would you
exactly.
con-
So what would I
would
maybe
you-
consider?
Yeah, what would you consider?
Well, I guess if you start from the top and work your way down, what's government's major role? It's public safety and infrastructure. So if those are the highest priority, I guess the lowest priority might be, and to me it's important because I like my grass cut, maybe just the grass being cut around town or trash being picked up. So I guess that would possibly, if you were to prioritize, although recognizing that when you have tall grass and trash, it creates an environment where people don't want to care. So ultimately, by expressing that, to me, it becomes more of a higher priority. So public safety and infrastructure, highest, lowest, I guess it would be power washing City Hall, I guess, which would make the lowest priority for the city. I mean, I want a beautiful City Hall. I know, and I'm glad the room lightened up, but it's all important to me. I mean, because it's important to somebody here, what I may construe or believe is low priority. So it's very difficult. I'll be honest with you, it's very difficult to say what's low priority.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
So I think the first step is what are the city's projects? I feel like we have so many things that we're trying to accomplish, and I don't really feel like anybody really knows the priority of it. So to answer the lowest, what is the lowest priority question, I think you have to come up with your list of projects first, and then work as a whole to figure out what are the priorities. Is it budget? Is it growth? Is it residential growth? Is it getting more businesses? Is it the residents? I mean, honestly, personally, I don't know what the lowest priority is. I think we have a lot going on, and until we can come up with a list where everything is on that list, I don't know.
Again, it's hard to say what is the lowest because working on the city council and working and representing the people of Sealy, what may be low to one person may not be low to the next person. And like my others here have said, it depends on the list. Low may be painting city halls, hallways. It just depends on the list of priorities for the city, and I know they change every city council meeting, so I can't say what's the lowest.
Well, we've sort of run out of time, so we're going to allow each of the candidates to give a closing statement of approximately 3 minutes, and we'll start with Mr. Novak.
So, if elected, there are 4 main things that I would like to focus on city council. And not in any particular order because we just talked about priorities, but one of those is being budget, drainage. We know that we have lots of flooding in Sealy that has that's I'll just leave it at that. We have lots of drainage issues in Sealy. And then number 3 for me is going to be growth. And again, that's within reason. What brought me back was the culture of Sealy and the people, and I would like whatever we do to be able to keep that culture. And then the 4th thing for me is open communication. We have all of these wonderful news outlets here, right? But we're missing a big group of people, I feel like, and I feel like that's our elderly here in the city. Online news media is awesome. The newspaper is awesome. But I do feel like that maybe there's an opportunity there for us to, I don't know, I mean, I'll volunteer some time to teach people how to use an iPad or to use an iPhone. I mean, I think that if everything's going online, right, then there should be something in place to help those people get there. Again, I've mentioned this before, but I think it's important for me, and maybe this exists already, but I do feel like that we need to have a 3, 5-year, 10-year plan, and we have to figure out what the end goal of Sealy is before we know what the necessary steps are to get us there. Some big things about me is that I'm running for council. I'm running for council, right? I promise to eliminate my own biased opinion on every decision that's made. I promise to truly represent the people. I don't have any ties to anybody on city staff or on city council. And the most important thing for me, right, is education. I'm willing to go to any trainings that I have to. I'm willing to get educated on anything that I need to get educated on to make sure that we're making the right decisions for the city. And the saying goes, love where you live, and I truly believe that. I truly believe that you should absolutely love where you live. And I promise to keep that in mind as Sealy progresses and as we move forward. And I hope that we can get Sealy in a better state. And I don't mean to talk that Sealy's this big problem. It's not. I think we're a little lost, and with improvements, we can get there.
As a candidate for the city of Sealy, I have been on the city council in the past because I am from Sealy, because of my work history, because of my passion for the city and love for the people that live here. I feel that I would be a very qualified candidate to represent the city of Sealy. Not only on the council, but I am an advocate everywhere I go. I will and promise to represent the citizens of Sealy in the highest, utmost manner that I can, to be a team player with the city council, to do research and involve myself into all of the programs that are involved with the city. We do have a city council lady who comes to our church about once every other month to inform our community about what the city is doing. I think communication is a big help. I did talk to a senior citizens group yesterday about the city of Sealy and this upcoming election, and continue to be an advocate for all the citizens of Sealy. I love this town. Thank you.
Yes, so Frank Lerma. I was born in Houston, but when I met Deanne over 20 years ago, and she was living here in Sealy, I knew this was going to be my home. And as actions represent priorities, I invested heavily here in Sealy, and I'm willing to even do more. That's how much I love it here. I love the school. I love how my children, Noah and Annabelle, how they come home. Like right now, they're at band practice. They still are at the school, and they drive home. It's close. They come home. They feel safe. That's what home should feel and be about. So, bearing in mind that I love that character, that feel of it, and the quality of life that Sealy provides right now, I know we can build upon that and even make it even better, because the truth is everything can be always have room for improvement. I know I need room, I have room for improvement, but we all do as human beings. So with that in mind, that is where with words I'm trying to give you an understanding or an illustration of where my heart is. I love being here, I'm invested in here, and I want to leave Sealy, when I'm done serving, an incredible place for when my children or my grandchildren become of age to govern this beautiful community, that they can say, this is what the people before us left us to work with. And I want it to be a positive statement. I don't want it to be, there's a challenge or there's issues. I want it to be, you know what? They started out and they thought about these things, and now we can build upon that. So, again, I love where I live, just like the bumper stickers. I'm home now. I'm going to stay here, and as your future city council member for Place 2, I'm looking forward to serving. Thank you so much.
We want to thank the candidates for, number one, wanting to serve the community in which they live, and we would also like to thank the citizens for coming out and trying to get as much information as they can to make their informed decision when the time comes, and hopefully that everyone will show up at that voting booth, cast their vote. And it's over.
Thank you. Thank you.